My name is Don't Fret, and I am an artist. I do work in the street and in the gallery and make painting, drawing, sculpture, some installation all over the map. It was always really important to me that the work live a separate life from me. I wanted the work to speak for itself and not be contextualized by the parameters of who I am. Part of it was just, that was the way the game was explained to me. You know, I'm not particularly, I think what I do is a legal gray area. I mean, I'm gluing some paper to a wall. I'm not exactly concerned in terms of whatever people's perception of damage or vandalism or whatever is.
Street art's origins come from anonymity because it's mostly illegal. I mean, it's only been probably in the past 15 to 20 years that cities have embraced this idea of mural projects and having artists actually do installations as public art. Anonymity is sort of a core ethos in the public art movement, and particularly in mural and graffiti-based work. So in a way, I think that it allows the artist to be more spontaneous, probably a little bit more aggressive, more uncurated. And for audiences, it builds an interesting relationship between producer and viewer, which is to say that there's often interesting narratives around, like, who is this person and where did she come from and what's the context for the work being made. So I think it's a fundamentally different relationship.
I think Chicago has a really unique attitude and perspective and set of ideals, and I have certainly found myself, I mean, it's the only flag that I could ever really see myself flying. I think it's definitely informed my work habits and the kind of like general blue collar kind of attitude and just head down, work hard, don't talk about it. I think a lot of my work talks about archetypes of cities and the people that live in cities, and especially in the 21st century, the kind of modern problems and modern issues and reservations and fears. There's a bit of like a whimsical nature and absurdity to the work. I think I've definitely found that humor is an amazing tool, and I am really thankful that I've found my sense of humor, because otherwise I think I would just be like underneath my bed in the fetal position all day. Certain aspects of the work that are maybe a little darker or a little harder for people to swallow, specifically when they're being kind of approached with it on the street. I think, you know, adding humor is a way to like hold a person's hand a little bit and, you know, just kind of like engage with them in an idea is certainly more personally comforting than just like, we're all everything's you're all screwed, shut it down.
My husband, who's also an artist and a maker, is always reminding me that the art world is about new content. It's always seeking new content. So if mural work is going to be new content or street art is going to be new content, they'll figure out a way to monetize it. I think any maker would say that monetization of artwork can be highly problematic, but like a lot of things, we live in a new moment where socially engaged and street-based artists are using the monetary benefit from the work that they do to feed other things.
It's pretty frustrating when you know, when you put something in the street, it was intended to be in the street. It was supposed to live and die there. I think these people that think that they're like saving the work for historical purposes or whatever, everyone's got an angle. They might think that they're doing some sort of justice to the work, but they're not. The work, I think, is supposed to live and die in the street. Certainly, when I put work in the street, this is not an invitation to like come on down and take something or recontextualize it for your purposes. Like, it was one person that was supposed to live on the street and die on the street. I would say 98% of anything I've ever made is no longer existing. I put up a piece at 2 in the morning and come back at 8 AM and it's gone. So
Globalization and conversations on race, class, and gender have changed the platform. They've changed the way we consider art and what we mean by art. I mean, as an art professor, I'm still concerned with the idea of like art is an interpretation and it's a conversation with the world. It's more than just navel gazing. It's more than just beautiful things. But I think that the way we see art today is very different and has a much broader audience of engagement.
How is the relationship between government and people going to dictate what is and isn't public space? I think obviously the majority of what we currently call public space in our cities is not actually public. And it's actually very, very privatized, and very, very few people actually have access to that space and that resource. And I think, you know, whether you want to call it graffiti or call it street art or whatever you want to, it doesn't matter. But I'm interested in whether it's like the dude preaching on the corner or the dude asking for Greenpeace signatures or graffiti writers or panhandlers or whatever, or just like street performers. Like, I'm intrigued in these types of people, and I guess for lack of a better term, professions that are engaging with public space and what is supposed to be public space. You know, I started doing graffiti when I was like 15 years old. And if I was like 15 now in 2017, like what avenues and what resources are available for young artists? And I am like really afraid that there's not much outside of like doing a like Red Bull sponsorship or something. My advice would be, in the pure sense, like, just don't let anyone tell you no. The beautiful thing about graffiti and about street art is that the only person in your way ultimately is you. If you see a spot, take that spot. If you see an opportunity, take that opportunity. And it's not just about doing illegal work, but be bold and be courageous. I think that there's more potential for success there than going to every, you know, store owner on your block and asking if you can paint the side of their building.